program. On the line with us is Alicia Sadowski, the researcher with Media Matters and one of the authors of this extraordinary new report. It's Bear Bile, Vaping, and Sunlight, a list of Fox News' supposed COVID-19 cures and treatments. Alicia, welcome to the program. Let's start out with, did this research and this it's a shocking list of things that have been promoted on air on Fox News as alternatives essentially to vaccine, I suppose, or whatever. But have you been able to determine why they would be doing this rather than simply telling people to get vaccinated?
I mean, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. And I mean, I think it speaks to the larger hypocrisy about Fox News. They have a more restrictive vaccine mandate and testing policy than even the Biden administration is proposing, which suggests that company heads and even their employees believe in the vaccine and they believe in the science. And so it demonstrates that they're putting profits over safety. The Daily Beast just had an article on Tuesday that quoted a Fox insider saying that this vaccine undermining, it's great for ratings.
Wow. This vaccine undermining is great for ratings. I mean, it's like we were talking earlier about how the algorithm, Facebook is addicted to their algorithm the way that junkies are addicted to opioids. And it seems like we've got the same thing here over at Fox News. It's that the more they can push weird, fringy stuff, the more people are engaged with them. Give us some examples of some of the things that Fox News has been pushing as ways to deal with COVID, as alternatives to actually real medicine and real vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned in our title we have Bear Bile, and Bear Bile came from one Fox anchor, Shannon Bream from Fox News at Night. And in an introduction, she talked about Bear Bile as a potential COVID-19 treatment.
Wait a second. Bile is the stuff that comes out of the gallbladder, right? The liver produces this. It's like one of the digestive enzymes that gets dumped into the stomach or small intestine or something. And why would you want to take the bile from the gallbladder of a bear for COVID?
It actually comes from a traditional Chinese medicine, and in March 2020, some Chinese doctors were suggesting that it could potentially help for its anti-inflammatory effects. Right. But studies here have proven that there's been no evidence that it has actually helped. And so the Shannon Bream, and within this segment, they failed to clarify that there is no accepted treatment for COVID-19, and there is no evidence specifically for Bear Bile.
Wow. And Bear Bile, if I remember, I read your report a little while ago, and my recollection is that Bear Bile can be contaminated with pus, with bacteria, with all kinds of weird things because it's like extracted from bears.
Absolutely. And it's another reason why this is an unproven vaccine or an unproven treatment. It's complex, and there is a simple solution, which is to just get vaccinated. Right.
We had a troll caller in the last hour going on about how, the real scientists are going to tell you the real, it's like, this is the kind of stuff. Is Fox still, I haven't watched Fox, frankly, in several months. Are they still peddling this, that the science is sketchy and some of the scientists disagree and the vaccines are, baby parts and all this? Is that stuff still going on over at Fox News?
Absolutely. Media Matters had a study about a month ago that our first part of the study from June 20th to July 11th, 57% of the segments about coronavirus vaccines, they undermined them. The next 2 weeks, it was 53% of segments. And then from July 26th to August 8th, which was the last portion of our study, it was 63% of their segments undermine COVID vaccines. So again, it speaks to the fact that they're going back to their ratings and they're telling their audience what they want to hear, but not what will keep them safe.
So it sounds like what you're suggesting, I mean, particularly given that Rupert Murdoch actually jumped the line and got the vaccine before other people, you know, before he should have been eligible. And that at Fox News, they require everybody to be vaccinated. They've got their own vaccine passport, you know, at Fox News. And their VP of Human Resources or whatever they call the guy, he's bragging about the fact that they've got over 90% vaccination rate. And if you're not vaccinated, you've got to be tested every day. I mean, that's pretty radical stuff. So they obviously believe in the vaccine from the top all the way down to the people on the air. And yet, in order to make money, they are encouraging people to get sick and die?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that that's clear, because what would their audience face is telling them that there's a simple solution that's overwhelming, effective, and safe, and that is to get vaccinated. But what they have done is they've tried to desensitize their audience to the need for robust clinical trials and testing, and undermining that general phrase, the science says, because their audience wants to push back against that. And so they're following that lead, which is harmful for their audience's health.
Are you seeing any indications that, you know, I occasionally I see, like, you know, the news guys, you know, Chris Wallace kind of folks over on I don't know if Bret Baier is still there, but, you know, the news guys on Fox News, you know, kind of reporting straight up that the vaccines work and you should get vaccinated, all this kind of thing. Is Fox trending toward that, away from that, or have they been maintaining this position for a long time? I mean, which direction are they moving?
I mean, you can definitely argue that their opinion side programs, as we like to describe them, as Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, they are moving fastly and rapidly toward this continuing undermining of the vaccine. Mm-hmm. You can see a little bit more of the hard news aspect. You mentioned Bret Baier, but at the same time, he still fails to sometimes promote the correct vaccine and treatment. We had an example of him allowing a guest to promote anecdotal evidence of therapeutics and blood thinners, rather than just saying to his audience they should get the vaccine.
Right. I noticed in your report you listed a whole bunch of different drugs, some of which I'd never even heard of, and others like losartan is a blood pressure drug, I think. You've got several different antibiotics. Has there ever been any? Well, first of all, you want to share just a quick list of things with our listeners that Fox has been promoting as alternatives to actual treatments for COVID?
Sure. Yeah. We have everything from azithromycin to doxycycline to, you mentioned losartan. There's nasal washes to our kind of crazier aspects of Sean Hannity one time suggested. Vaping could prevent coronavirus, sunlight, and then, of course, what we were talking about earlier is bare bile. So there's this strong list of potential complex drugs that they're offering when, again, there's a simple solution, which is to get vaccinated.
Right, and we know that some of the sites that have been promoting these kinds of so-called alternative remedies, in fact, this came out as a result of a big hack of one of the right-wing website host companies. They're selling ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine at the same time that they're essentially recommending them. I suppose if you really believe that they work, selling them makes sense, but is there any evidence that these people actually believe this? I mean, they work in an environment where they're required to be vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, as you just said, all evidence points to the fact that they're still putting the profiting off of the sickness of their audience. This piece doesn't say that none of the listed cures or drugs have been effective at preventing or haven't helped some people, but they're unproven. And the vaccine is overwhelmingly effective and safe and FDA authorized.